As hundreds of pro and anti-Trump protesters clashed during rallies. Rioters were seen kicking and punching each other, setting off fireworks and burning flags. Police say at least 11 people were injured and there were more than 20 arrests.
Almost half an hour into the protest, people left a perimeter that the police had set up for the protest, which took place in a very small park in downtown Berkeley. So people just started to leave the perimeter and just went into the street, and that's where the real violence started. Both sides knew that they were there to fight. It was very obvious. One of the most dangerous things that they were doing is they were throwing bottles, crystal bottles at each other, Coke bottles. So the press and most of the people that were there that were not taking really part in the protest, we had to retrieve because there was real danger for us. Also, they were throwing tear gas. I don't know if you can see it, but my eyes are red because we were surrounded by tear gas.
Berkeley has become some sort of a battleground for Donald Trump supporters and opponents. The first riots erupted on the first day of February when university students protested against a planned lecture by a journalist who had openly expressed support for the U.S. president. Then on March the 4th, a pro-Trump march was interrupted by counter demonstrations, ending up in fights with bats and metal pipes even being used. Political commentator Tim Young believes clashes keep happening because both sides are frustrated.
You know, at this point, I really feel like both sides know when they show up in Berkeley, they're going to be fighting with each other. The first time around, it was the leftists and the Antifa activists who started the violence. But I think that pro-Trump people are showing up there for some sort of like fight club. I'm surprised they don't start selling tickets for it at this point. So I think people were actually showing up. Now that this is the third time that the groups have gotten together in Berkeley and started fighting, I think now both sides are responsible. They're showing up there knowing that these fights are going to break out. It's just whenever they break out. And they've gotten bigger and bigger each time. I think there's just frustrated people on both sides, and they actually want to fight.
Now, sides on Thursday, her party's headquarters in Paris was even firebombed. Artist Charlotte Dubinsky reports from the scene.
As you can see, just behind me is an insurance building that is right next door to the National Front offices. They are to the left of me. And it's here there was an arson attack that was carried out by a group who've claimed it. They call themselves Fighting Xenophobia. They say they carried out that attack because they wanted to disrupt the National Front ahead of the election. And you might be able to see some of the damage that was caused by that arson attack. The fire was put out fairly quickly by the services, but now the remnants of the shattered glass on the doors behind me, in fact, an entire pane has been blown out of one of the doors, and that's because the group say they hurled Molotov cocktails at this building. They also sprayed graffiti on the wall, the graffiti saying the group Fighting Xenophobia was versus National Front. Now, Marine Le Pen has been at the party HQ here in Paris inspecting the damage. This is what she had to say.
This is an act of aggression by extreme left. The other political movements do not think like them. They are responsible for all the acts of aggression against police that we occasionally see on television at the end of each demonstration.
Now, Fighting Xenophobia, the group that's claimed that it carried out this arson attack on the offices here of the National Front in Paris, say that they will now continue to carry out attacks in the lead-up to the French presidential election.
And we talked to one of Le Pen's main advisors, Florian Philippot, who believes far-left radicals feel emboldened right now.
An attack against the headquarters of a presidential nominee 10 days before the elections is an attack against democracy and against the French Republic. It should be treated as such. We understand that it's easier to target Marine Le Pen because ultra-violent left radicals feel like they can act with impunity before the authorities.
Now, the pressure keeps mounting on Le Pen. And behind me right now, you can see live pictures from an anti-nationalist rally in Paris targeting the National Front's campaign. Meanwhile, a French rock band has released a song, also taking direct aim at Le Pen. The lyrics lash out at her father and mother and incite physical abuse. We discussed this with a number of guests.
To a certain extent, it helps her. So that's why we have to ask who is benefiting from it. Of course, these people are not very intelligent, that's for sure. But it's easy to think they are manipulated. The question is by whom?
It's disgraceful that people can't discuss politics in a grown-up manner. I mean, they talk about democracy, they talk about freedom of speech, but they're always the ones to shout down, to bully, to harass, to abuse, to accuse others of racism, others of being fascists, and then their answer is to firebomb the officers of Marine Le Pen.
Le Pen could also have her European parliamentary immunity lifted once again, this time over her alleged misuse of funds. Stripping the immunity is decided on a case-by-case basis, and it won't be the first time Le Pen's faced the motion. Last month, the parliament voted in favor of revoking her immunity after she posted photos of ISIL killings on her Twitter account. Le Pen's not the only one embroiled in scandal. The Republicans' candidate, François Fillon, is currently under formal investigation over a fake jobs row, while independent rival Emmanuel Macron is also under the microscope. Amid allegations, he used public funds for his campaign. The first round of the presidential race is next Sunday, with polls suggesting it'll be tighter than expected. Pictures coming out of the French capital, Paris, where clashes appear to have broken out at a march against presidential candidate Marine Le Pen. Well, we are just a week away from the elections that will be the first round of elections that will be taking place in the country, and the National Front's hopeful Marine Le Pen has found herself being attacked from all sides. Well, once again, this is a live picture from the French capital, Paris, where, as we've heard earlier, were clashes and anti-Le Pen protests. Well, we can see some movement there ahead of us. There's some police presence and people running somewhere, and there's smoke as well. So you can see there's a police presence there at the crossroads. What looks like not far away from some railway station. Well, not many people there at the moment, but we can see that there is some sort of a communication between the police and those who gathered there. There's some members of the media as well. And earlier, there were protests a few weeks ago in Nantes, and there were some violent scenes there that we were showing you. But let's hope it doesn't get that way here in Paris. And just to remind our viewers that we're only a week away from the first round of French presidential elections, so campaign is in full swing now, and the other candidates are too under the pressure at the moment. Live pictures there from Paris. We'll be showing you more as we get some more information as far as the developments are concerned.